Welcome to another exciting and elucidating episode of the Omni Talk Ask an Expert series. I'm your host, Chris Walton.
And I'm Mezzenga.
And we are the founders of Omni Talk, the fast-growing retail blog that is all about the companies, the technologies, and the people that are coming together to shape the future of retail. Or as we like to say, Ann, at Omni Talk, the blog that focuses on tomorrow's companies today.
Yes, we do.
Every day, any chance we get, Ann. And joining us today is an executive from a company that needs no introduction and one that absolutely meets the standard of that intro in our collective opinion. And I am talking about Meta. So I am pleased to introduce Meta's VP of its commerce business, Emma Rodgers. Emma, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ann. It's great to see you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm pumped too. I put on my smart glasses, Emma. I got new glasses. I don't usually wear my glasses for podcasts and videos and webinars.
Smart glasses too.
Yeah, but I'm trying to show, gotta amp up the game with you on the show today. So, all right. Well, before we get started, I do want to make just one announcement for those watching us live on LinkedIn, watching the early release of this interview live on LinkedIn with us right now. If, as we go along, you have questions for Emma, please feel free to enter them in the chat session window to the right side of your screen. Emma's here to answer your questions as we go along. If you feel like asking Ann and me a question too, go ahead. Probably won't, but hey, the option's there should you want to take it. But Emma is here and ready and willing to answer any and all of your questions that come her way. So, Ann, I think we should get started.
Yes,
what do you think?
Let's do it. Now, Emma, you have been at Meta for a long time. When we met you for the first time, you were telling us like your tenure there has been longer than most people there, and you've seen so much. So I want to have you tell us a little bit about what your roles and responsibilities are in your job now.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Ann. Yeah, once again, really excited to be here today. And I'm Emma. I lead our commerce business product marketing teams. And yeah, I've been at the company for some time. I've been at Meta for a little over 10 years.
Wow.
And during that time, I've had a chance to work on a pretty wide array of parts of the business, from the early stages of helping to build out our ads business. And then in 2020, I really jumped at a chance to join our commerce business leadership team. And in the commerce business, ultimately our mission is to connect people and businesses through commerce. And when you look at what our team is responsible for, we really sit at the intersection of product development and go-to-market. And so as part of that, my team and I get to really lean in on one of the most exciting and game-changing areas, which is commerce. And we drive the go-to-market strategy and we help shape the vision for the products that we're building to really help businesses and brands grow and deliver a better experience for people on our platform.
And you guys are working with I think it's important to call out that you're not just building this with large enterprise businesses using Facebook. This is also for small to medium-sized businesses as well, right, Emma?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, the vision is to help businesses of any size and creators, really bringing them tools to help their businesses grow.
That's a great point, Ann, because Emma, I was going to ask you too. So basically, it's anything in and around commerce that can be conducted or help be conducted through Meta or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, right? That's the right way to think about it?
Yeah, that's right. And really the way we think about it is, what we're doing in commerce is an extension. We've been in the business of commerce for many years as a company. We have, advertising tools to help businesses reach their customers and drive sales. And we're increasingly investing in new formats and new ways for them to do that, and really deliver delightful shopping experiences to people.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. That's a good segue too. That's a great setup, by the way. You're natural at this already. But for this interview, we intentionally called it How Meta Envisions the Future of Commerce, to your point that you were just making. So, because you guys are at the forefront of so much that's happening technologically in terms of how commerce is getting conducted. So I want to start with this then. My first question for you is, how have you seen social commerce and shopping behaviors in general evolve or shift, say, over the last few years? Maybe as a result of the pandemic, maybe not as a result of the pandemic, however you want to couch that. I'm curious what your perception is of or the answers to that question.
Yeah, for sure. I think you guys know this deeply as well, but the world of shopping has evolved really meaningfully over the past few years. And social really brings kind of a huge new wave of kind of implications and opportunities for both for people and for brands. We deeply know this. The store was the focus for buyers and shoppers for so many years. And then with the rise of the internet, that led to a shift to online shopping and retailers investing in websites. And also during that era, we saw a really exciting opportunity where anyone was empowered, kind of sell beyond their local community with the rise of marketplaces and digital payments. And then with mobile, we see consumers really beginning to shop anywhere and anytime directly from their phone. And so with social, we really are enabling kind of new behaviors for consumers and authentic connections between people and brands and creators and entertainment, and bringing entertainment into the center of the shopping experience, which is exciting. And when you look at kind of what is driving that shift, there's really two things. One is where people are spending their time. And in social apps, just really changing that path to purchase. The marketing funnel is collapsing and creating a lot of opportunities in new ways for people and brands to connect and meet. I think what we saw, for a long time, digital and e-commerce really approached shopping as functional, grounded in people kind of searching for something that they knew they wanted. But what it didn't account for is inspiration, and really the inspiration and fun of discovery. And ultimately, people do want to discover new products and new brands. And that's a phenomenon we call at Meta discovery commerce. And the idea that people are no longer kind of going shopping, but they're always shopping. And no matter where they are, shopping's gone from creating a destination where people go to an always on journey. And social has driven a lot of that evolution. And in a lot of ways, social commerce is already here. If you look at kind of the stats, it's forecasted to be $1 trillion opportunity by 2025. And once again, kind of two things driving that. One is just changes in where and how people shop and how they discover. And then the other one is really commerce and content and entertainment are really converging. So increasingly, content is the door to your store. And that's been really fun and exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, so I want to ask you about that too, because you said something, and this reminds me of, I got to hear Eva Press from your organization at Shop Talk, and she was talking about a number of just talking about similar points, but I want to make sure we bring it home for the audience too. You talked about the funnel shrinking, it being more of a search-based thing, and now going to more the active discovery, which is inspirational for people. And I think I would 100% agree with that. But the other point that she mentioned that I didn't get a chance to ask her, that I want to get your thoughts on here, is she also said that the commerce experiences online or digitally have become quote unquote more portable and also more dimensional than ever before. I thought that was really interesting. And I'd love for you to unwrap what those two words mean within the context of everything you just said.
So yeah, maybe if we kind of unpack that, I guess, more portable, what's really on my mind there is, once again, this notion of, shopping not being something that people are kind of intentionally going to do in a moment, but it's something that can happen at any moment in time. Your phone is with you everywhere.
Got it.
And more dimensional, I think the way I think about that is, with the evolution of technology and more immersive formats, you really do have the opportunity to kind of bring in some of that magic of shopping in person onto mobile, whether that's with AR or with live video, but that experience is really rich and kind of multi-dimensional in a way that it hasn't been historically.
Right, like it's literally dimensional. Right. I mean, that's literally what we're talking about when you get into AR overlays and VR. And we'll get into that later for those that are probably already chomping at the bit for us to get into the metaverse conversation.
Yeah, and that's exactly like, as we look at the metaverse, I mean, that just grows over time. So yeah, that's how I think about those two words in the context of social commerce.
Got it. It's important, and it's an important overlay in terms of discovery commerce and what that means. Like, I think those two words were those are the two most important words I pulled out from that conversation listening to that Shop Talk. So thanks for going through that for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, especially when you talk about entertainment, Emma. I think that's the big shift here, is that we're now talking about like the entertainment, the content being the first part of this, or kind of the gateway into the shopping experience. What does that mean then for retailers and brands, Emma? Like how are they supposed to be thinking about creating, they're so used to creating, here's a storefront, here's an e-commerce site, here's how I'm selling it on Facebook, but how should they be thinking about discovery commerce as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. So, while a lot has changed and evolved and will continue to evolve, there's frankly like one constant, which is important for brands, which is just being where your consumers are. So that's a constant that continues to remain true. It's just where consumers are is continuing to evolve. And what is increasingly important for brands is reaching customers across all of the channels where they're spending their time, and distributing commerce and is going to be core to how retailers and brands need to and do operate. But ultimately, and that to your point, is going to just increase even more with the metaverse over time. But ultimately, it shouldn't really matter kind of what the channel or the format is. Really making that moment in which you engage with a customer shoppable is incredibly important. And as shopping and kind of content and commerce and content converge, I think there's a couple of things for brands to keep in mind. First, like we know discovery's changed. So the way consumers discover new products and brands has changed. Like they're increasingly looking to kind of trusted communities, and creators play an incredibly important role in influencing kind of and driving discovery. Another thing that's changed is a format, the rise of video, and something we're really excited about is live shopping, but once again, the magic and the dimension that video can bring to shopping. Things like short form reels on our platform, we're investing a lot there to enable businesses to make that content shoppable, because that's how consumers are consuming content today. And then ultimately, there's just a lot of new ways that brands have to drive confidence in the purchase.
Okay.
Like, for example, once again, video and reels and bringing that product to life and enabling consideration through new immersive formats is something that will be really important, in addition to streamlining the bottom of the funnel and making that one-click checkout really streamlined.
Yeah, that's the important point for me. And I don't know how you think about this too, and Emma, but like there are points about discovery I think are so well founded. And I think that's what sometimes people in the conversations that we're having, I think sometimes miss, is that the role of discovery has completely moved online in a lot of ways outside of the physical store, right? And we'll get into the metaverse again too, but the metaverse is inherently a social experience, the social joy of shopping beyond the world, either on your own or in another world, in this case, as we're about to talk about. But that's really where discovery is happening. And the convenience element then of the physical world takes on almost more of a dimension than it ever has before, which is what I think we've seen with the pandemic, right? Like stores have reasserted their importance, not for discovery, but actually for the convenience of them.
Totally.
Right.
Which is a big unlock for us all to think about, because it definitely changes the way you position your brand, across, all of these different channels.
Totally.
So Emma, you mentioned live shopping. Let's click into that. So, where is that now? Where does it go next? How should brands be thinking of that in your mind?
Yeah. So, and I love talking about live shopping. I think it's, one of the more exciting areas that we're investing in.
But so does Anne. Anne loves it.
Yes.
It's her favorite topic.
So, we're really in early stages. We see in other markets, outside of the US, a real proliferation of live shopping, for example, in Asia. And I think we're in early stages in the US today. For us, the way we think about live shopping is it really is about kind of putting people back into the center of commerce and enabling, kind of bringing that magic of social and shopping together. And what we're seeing is, brands who are most effectively able to use that format are doing a couple things. One is like really investing in and bringing to life an authentic host, a host who can kind of engage and bring authenticity to that story. And then also, and this likely sounds pretty familiar and like table stakes, but we're also seeing brands who are bringing to live shopping a really clear call to action, whether that's introducing kind of a new product or introducing an exclusive price point or an exclusive promotion. But there's both the combination of kind of engaging entertainment in the context of an authentic host who can really bring the brand to life, in addition to a really clear call to action for the consumer. And both of those things are really important.
Right. Yeah. There's almost an element of that. It's funny as we're getting into this conversation together. Like, I feel like there's almost that element of like, I called it taction for the lack of a better way to describe it. That those things you do inside a physical store to get confidence in the purchase. Live streaming is almost supplanting that or supplementing that in a lot of ways based on how you described it. You got the authority of the live streamer, the authenticity of the live streamer, giving people confidence like, hey, it's okay that you can buy this now. I'm kind of standing behind it. I'm asking your questions as I go along. Is that the right way to think about it? That's how these lines are blurring, right? For the most part.
Yeah, and there's also something about the format that is unique, which enables an emotional connection as well. One of my kind of favorite live streams is from a brand called Zox, where the founder of Zox produces these amazing live streams and can speak authentically to the mission behind the company and the products. And I think that really connects well with the consumer.
And Emma, when we're talking about these shoppable moments that are happening within these live streams, you're talking about authenticity, making sure that you have a host that's engaging, just as though you would, in a physical store where you have somebody that's greeting the customer, that's giving them these insights into maybe when promotions are coming or a specific reason or how many of these items are left. Like, this is the last one on the floor. You should take this home with you. I wonder, how you feel like brands, if there's any other advice you might have, I guess, for brands to really create that connection, and maybe how Meta fits into all of that, or how they can kind of coordinate their efforts to really show up in the right places and provide those right shoppable moments for their consumers.
Yeah, and I think maybe zooming out from live shopping a little bit, something that we do kind of across our apps is really make all the content shoppable. And Shops is really one foundation that we're building on to make that happen. So Shops make it simple. You can set up a digital storefront, and then with a shop, you can then use our organic and advertising distribution tools to reach your customers, and also reach new customers. What we're seeing is about 50% of Facebook and 65% of Instagram Shops visits come from non-followers. This is a great opportunity to be reaching folks who are not your customers or your followers today.
Right.
So in terms of guidance for brands and things that they can do kind of across our portfolio, number one, it's set up that storefront, and then engage with your consumers using product tagging and have those shoppable posts. And we're increasingly looking at making more formats shoppable. We saw consumers engaging in that short form kind of snackable reels and stories content, and we added product tags to those. And so leveraging those product tags to enable people to really interact with and discover your products.
Emma, I mean, that was a key theme, I think, coming out of Shop Talk a couple of weeks ago was, just getting it out there and trying it. And maybe speak a little bit about how it does seem somewhat simple to be able to go out there and pilot this and try putting tags on products and that kind of thing. Is it really that simple? Or, what does it look like for a retailer or brand who hasn't done this yet?
Yeah, it is pretty simple. And you can set up a shop that either has checkout enabled or a shop that is not checkout enabled. And from there, really what we're building is a suite of tools. So once again, you are already publishing content and connecting with your consumers today on Instagram or Facebook. And so make that content shoppable by adding product tags.
Right.
And new formats that we have, like drops, which do require a checkout enabled shop, or live, that's where kind of more experimentation is really needed by the brand in terms of what type of content is really going to resonate. For drops, the way to think about that is that's a way to introduce a net new line or an exclusive product introduction. And that takes some experimentation in terms of what types of products and what types of content is going to resonate with your audience on the platform. But getting started with the shop and beginning to build shoppable content is frankly just layering onto existing activity that you're already doing on Facebook.
Well, and I think allowing a way to kind of delineate what you're doing for your followers that you mentioned, and for the people who are new to the brand, who are just in the discovery phase, you're kind of you're able to give two separate experiences, but both allow for this discovery commerce to happen in the Meta universe. I heard Benji on stage too from Meta, who was talking about just what you said, that over, like, I think it was 50% of the time, like the people that are buying stuff from you don't even follow the brand. Like this is their first time on Instagram seeing it. They found the like image of a product in their feed, and now they're following you. They're having this experience with you for the very first time. So it's really cool that you can kind of have all of those things testing and happening on the same time on the same platform, I think.
Yeah. And really our vision is that we make that as simple as possible for businesses.
Yeah, right. That data point seems like proof point number one for the whole idea of discovery commerce. Like holy cow, I'm discovering things that I'm not following. Right. That's inherently what we're talking about here. But Emma, okay, I got to shift gears a little bit, and I have to ask you the question, which if I don't ask it, I think I lose my editorial, pundit card or whatever it is that I'm trying to say. But the one question that's always on top of everyone's mind, and every time I get done talking about the future of retail and up on stage or, a conference or whatever, there's always somebody in the background that's asking the question about data. So, data and data privacy. So how are you guys thinking about data privacy, particularly within the context of discovery commerce and what you've been talking about?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. It's really important. And frankly, the way we think about it is really just anchored in consumers and consumers' needs. So ultimately, people's privacy is critical and foundational for everything that we do. And so we are continuously kind of evolving and adapting our systems to really honor kind of people's privacies and their choice, and while also helping businesses reach their customers effectively. And so there's a couple of things that are top of mind for us. One aspiration we have is to provide people with the most relevant and engaging experience for them. And one of the ways that we do that is we use people's activity from our platform to personalize their experience and show them more relevant content. And as we look to do that, there are a couple really important principles that are the foundation for our approach. The first is transparency, and really making sure that people understand how we use their data. Second is choice and consent, and making sure that folks have agency over what data they provide and how it shapes their experience. And then finally, we really have a principle around data minimization and anonymization. And the principle here is really minimize the amount of personal information we process while still delivering you a great and relevant experience. And once again, this is data and privacy is foundational for everything that we do. And we're continuing to learn and continuing to evolve.
Mm-hmm. That's an important point though, because I think, and Anna talked about this a lot too, like you want a personalized experience. There's going to be some amount of data that goes into that personalization. And so, yeah, it's good to hear you say that and unravel that in those 3 steps for us. All right. So next question for you then, because I definitely will lose my pundit card if I don't ask you this. I've teased it a couple of times already. The metaverse.
Yep.
What is it from the mouth of an executive at Meta, number one? And then why is it so important, and where are we going with this whole thing? And, and be as judicious with that as you can be for our audience.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'm glad you asked. We obviously are really excited about the metaverse, and we see it as the next big computing platform. And I think, our change of our company name is an explicit signal of kind of how important we think this is to the future of kind of consumer behavior. And commerce is a big part of that. Candidly, we're super early. Right? We're
super early. Okay, you heard it here. Super early. Okay,
really early in terms of how kind of commerce shows up in the metaverse. And I think for our audience today, where we are is really, it's early, and now is the time to experiment. Now is the time to kind of build an early stage understanding of how your brand is perceived and how consumers will want to engage with you in the metaverse. But the way we think about it is, people are shifting their behavior. Over time, we're going to see increased commerce activity in the metaverse, with the metaverse as yet another channel where consumers are engaging and shopping from your brand. And have we built out that experience just yet? No, but there's an exciting vision. Like you can imagine, being able to virtually connect with a brand or a creator for a product demo, and really feel like you're there and demoing the experience with that creator. You can imagine a world where you're purchasing, clothing from a brand or a shop that sits in a different country, and you really kind of experience that, and that contributes to your ability to make that purchase. Today, that enabling that fluidity of shopping across channels, our investments there are really kind of the early stage investments we're making are things like live shopping, right, and AR try on, and enabling that fluidity and that dimension. And you can see how that can evolve over time. But where we are today is like those investments are our early stage investments of what shopping can continue to look like into the future as the metaverse takes shape. Right.
That's really interesting to hear you say that, because, because even social commerce, is still a smaller portion than relative to like direct e-commerce, right? So like basically if I take the gist of what you're saying, like we're very early innings on this. We're probably in the early innings like we were in social commerce, like a la 2010.
Yep.
But the important point that I want to bring out is you said it's another channel, which gives omnichannel, Omni Talk kind of a whole new meaning, because like metaverse falls under that umbrella, as does e-commerce, as does social commerce, as does a store,
that's right,
as does a pickup locker experience or something like that, depending on how you want to shake it out.
That's right.
So that's really interesting to me. It's good validation for us too. But my question would be then for you, like, if I'm a retailer or brand and I buy into, hey, it's early, but I still want to experiment. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for them within that experimentation process? Like, how are they judging their success? Because you could throw a lot of money at this, very foolhardily if you're not careful, but you could also do it in a very smart way. So what would you tell them?
Totally. Well, I think for all of us, typically when we're making kind of marketing investments or investments in shopping experiences, we're evaluating those based on kind of traditional ROI. Mm-hmm. And given where we are today in the metaverse, like that's not how I would recommend brands think about this. Instead, it's invest in the early stages of, how does your brand show up in this new channel? What are the types of experiences where consumers want to engage with you in this really multidimensional and immersive way? And it's less about performance and more about bringing your brand to life in new and authentic ways. And how do you do that in partnership with creators? Creators are going to play a really important role in this environment. So frankly, where I would start is I would start with the kind of current state of social commerce. Invest in, we didn't spend a lot of time chatting about kind of creators and the extent to which creators drive kind of influence and discovery. Invest in kind of building that connection with creators on Instagram and on Facebook. And then think about how you can bring that to life in the metaverse. Invest in kind of the early stages of AR try-on and how you can bring that to life in your ad formats and your organic content across Instagram, for example. And then think about how you can bring that into the metaverse. But I think kind of removing the lens that we all would bring to, let's look at our traditional ROI metrics. It's too early for that. And instead kind of build from what you've learned in social commerce or continuing to learn in social commerce and take that into your experimentation.
Yeah, and I know, and the way that's great stuff. Like, I love this because it calls back to the beginning of this conversation too, which what is discovery commerce all about, right? It's about the social and the inspirational. So if you're going to use this channel, the big unlock for me and just having this discussion with you right now is that's what you're levering up. This isn't about transactional, pounding through a lot of units low at the end of the funnel, right? This is about discovery and the social aspects of why we enjoy shopping and being in this new verse, so to speak. That's how I take back what you said. But Anne, what are you thinking?
Yeah, you said.
Yeah, I mean,
great.
No, I think that, I go back to the tactical days of creative teams too, like back in early mobile days where it was like, okay, here's how we're going to execute holiday. And this is what it's going to look like in the store. And this is what the in-store signage is going to look like. And this is what the online experience and the mobile experience is going to be. But then like you're saying, Emma, just taking that a step further as you're thinking about the experimentation of, okay, now what does the holiday experience look like? And who are the creators we're partnering with for the metaverse example or execution of this campaign? And it seems like just a next natural channel, like you said, Chris.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that I also think about it similarly in terms of the early days of mobile. We started with kind of the trends in terms of, the shift to mobile. And at that point, kind of, retailers were beginning to build their mobile apps. And I think there's a whole spectrum of approaches that retailers took. And I think those who who looked at the mobile app as another channel, an extension of their business, saw a lot of traction. I think, yeah, I like how you think about it a lot, Anne, which is how is this new channel, a new dimension, an extension of the message you're trying to send around holiday or some other moment. I like that a lot.
Well, and Emma, how do you at Meta evaluate your own kind of experimentation too? I mean, Chris and I got to come at Shop Talk and look and try on the Oculus and do the whole shopping experience where you were bringing in other sensory experiences to help me kind of gain confidence in a purchase of a candle. How do you measure your own like experimentation? What kind of guides that direction?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I kind of anchor it back into, you know, that social commerce and the experiences, for example, that we're building with shops. Some of that is, you know, much more proven, kind of early, more mature. Some of it is early stage. You know, if you look at kind of live shopping, how have we evaluated kind of our own innovation there? And frankly, it evolves. So in early stages, really thinking a lot about simplicity for businesses, and we spend a lot of time with our customers and kind of getting feedback on how simple is this for you to use. Like there's two dimensions: there's simplicity and there's value. And as we're in kind of the early stages of building out value, making sure that we're really leaning into kind of simplicity and meeting our customers where they are, and also looking at the consumer metrics. So much of what we're doing in shopping is anchored in what are we seeing consumers already organically gravitate to on our platform and do on our platform, and looking at whether or not we're amplifying that. So like early signals are simplicity for businesses and amplifying what consumers are already telling us they're hoping to do and the type of content they're trying to connect with or the types of businesses they're trying to connect with. Then over time, like, you know, we do kind of look at those. Something that's incredibly important for us is ultimately we're trying to deliver a better experience for people, and kind of all the standard metrics that we would look at in e-commerce and in advertising, we're looking at in terms of consumer engagement and conversion and retention. And then with businesses, we're ultimately looking to help businesses grow their business, impact on sales, and the ROI that we're delivering. That is the end state. And we have to have kind of proxy metrics in the journey as we get there.
God, I'm loving this. I could talk to you for hours, but since you brought it up, I gotta ask you because I'm dead curious now. Like, what are some of those early things you're seeing in regards to what consumers are gravitating towards in the metaverse, so that the brands and retailers listening or watching this can think about that?
First thing is, once again, you look at creators. We're seeing consumers really engage with the content from the creators that they follow and the influencers that they trust.
Okay,
we're also good. like, and I think we could probably take some of these as proxies for what we will eventually see in the metaverse as well. We're also seeing like consumers engage in that short form kind of shoppable content. Reels is the fastest growing format on our platform. I think that we can also take some proxies for that in terms of how we expect consumers to engage in the metaverse over time. And then I think underneath these things is we're seeing consumers engage with businesses and brands and creators who show up authentically, with, once again, some form of kind of exclusivity or call to action. A lot of the magic of our platforms is the ability to discover a product or a brand that you might not have known about before. And how do you do that in the metaverse over time? I think it's, number one, tap into the power of creators for discovery. Number two, really bring that product experience to life for people who are not familiar with your brand, and leverage those kind of immersive experiences that we have yet to build and bring to life, and that we'll all do together, and give folks the chance to kind of engage deeply with your category. So I'm more anchored on kind of what do we see today, and do we think that will shape, you know, experiences in the metaverse in the future?
No, that's great. That's great. You got my, this has been such a good conversation. I'm like, you've got my, for everyone watching, you got my mind going on this whole thing. Like at the end of the day, you know, commerce experience, store experience, whatever you want to call them, retail experiences exist for the 5 key reasons that we always talk about on the show. They're places of inspiration, means of convenience, immediate gratification. They're the idea of traction, the ability to get confidence in what you're buying, and the social experience of shopping. And so what I think we've unpacked here is the beginning of a new channel that hits at those dimensions in a really unique way. And you're giving some of the early stage indications of of where people are going to find success based on what you're seeing across the mediums that you have the visibility to, which I think is just absolutely fascinating. So on that note, I think let's close it up. We've had Emma on the spot for a long time, Emma Rodgers. But Emma, if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about Meta's approach to this whole conversation, apply it to their businesses, what's the best way for them to do that?
You can reach out to us at meta.com/discoverycommerce.
On behalf of Meta's Emma Rodgers and Ann, thanks for sitting down with us today, Emma. I couldn't be more thrilled with this conversation we just had. Thanks to all of you for joining us live on LinkedIn, for your engagement as well. On behalf of the three of us, I say it all the time. It's never more important than it is right now. Be careful out there.